Today on the program, North Central governors appeal for balancing in zoning of 10th National Assembly. Presiding officers set to meet Tinubu as opposition parties say they have no candidate for House of Representatives Speaker. Deputy Jobs, I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Dotun Oladipo. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Let's start on the celebration mood. Another honor came for Babajide on Sunday when an artist and fan of journalist Hangout, Osini Fatai, presented a handcrafted portrait for him, as well as a coat of arms made of fiberglass. The items were presented to BKO by Mr. Fatai to appreciate him for his patriotic service to the country as a journalist. Judy, this won't stop. A lot of Nigerians, some will come from South Africa, America. Anytime they just touch down, they will come and see us, and they will appreciate journalist Hangout and appreciate what we've been doing.
Yes, and this is why I always say it's too late for us to change. Sometimes when you read some negative comments, you tend to think that such views are general. But the outpouring of love is unquantifiable. Wherever one goes,
look at how lovely.
No, wherever one goes, you see people show their love to you. Sometimes they won't allow you to pay. You go into a restaurant, you want to pay.
Yes,
you will not know that somebody has paid for you.
I'm telling you.
There was a time I even took people with me to go and eat at this big eatery on Agidimbi, mega chicken. I didn't know that somebody had paid.
That's what they do.
And it wasn't just me alone. He paid for everybody.
I'm telling you.
Came with me. So it's that's the reason you must continue to serve our people. People don't understand why sometimes we stick by the things that we believe in, because we are convinced that majority of the people appreciate what we are doing. When some journalists were standing by Emefiele, watching people being killed, watching people being killed, and without shame, saying they were standing by Emefiele because they thought that was a means to an end.
He was one of their paymasters.
At the end of the day, we stood by our people, and today,
that project
we said he did not supply enough naira notes to the banks. He was lying against the banks. He threw them under the bus.
Yes.
A constituency that you came out from. Today, do you still see people burning bank branches?
Nigeria is calm now.
They found a solution. So we just have to keep backing our people, keep fighting for our people.
Well, let me say congratulations to BKO on this one again. Generally, I would say that in Nigeria, it's easy to criticize. And all you just need to do is to find out where that person is coming from. And then you will understand the reason for the criticism and possible bias. Because a lot of people are paid to do some of these things. When you go ahead and you do some little investigation, you'll find whoever is behind those accounts, and you can see one person opening up to 30, 40 accounts in a bid to attack an individual. So sometimes I'm not shocked, and it's just good. Once you believe in something, keep doing it. Once it's right, and you are convinced about it, keep doing it.
All right. Moving on now. A vestige of terrorism has rocked Kaduna State. A suspected terrorist blew up himself with an improvised explosive device following an attempt by security operatives to arrest him. The suspect is said to have been on the watch list of security operatives and hiding in the Millennium City neighborhood of Kaduna. Meanwhile, the military said it has rescued another Chibok schoolgirl kidnapped by Boko Haram insurgents in 2014. The theater commander of Operation Hadi Kai, Major General Ibrahim Ali, said the girl was rescued by ground troops at the Ubaka terrorist hideout in Sambisa Forest. General Ali assured that efforts are ongoing to rescue her children who are in custody of terrorist husband Abu Yusuf. Let's share the story with you.
The Nigerian army has continued its onslaught against Boko Haram insurgents using both kinetic and non-kinetic approaches. Now this has yielded positive results, with people now enjoying relative peace. Today, Theater Commander Operation Hadim K, Major General Ibrahim Ali, is here to brief the press on the successes recorded. According to him, his troops have rescued another Chibok schoolgirl during an operation in the Sambisa forest. She is identified as Sarah Tudauda.
Is listed on serial number 10 on the list of abducted Chibok schoolgirls. Sarah too is 25 years old and a native of Mbalala in Chibok local government area of Borno State. She had 3 daughters, aged 7, 5, and 2 years old with Bana, but however left them in the terrorist hideout during her escape. The Northeast Theater of Operations under my command is committed to neutralizing all terrorist elements as well as criminals marauding the Northeast.
The rescued Chibok schoolgirl has been handed over to the Borno State government.
We have received quite a number of the girls. They are still in our custody. We continue to give them mental health, psychosocial support, making sure that they are empowered in one skill or another before they are handed over to the federal government to join their other sisters that were earlier released. So I'm really pleased with what I saw today. The military has done very well by looking after the young girls that have been picked. You can see Sarah is looking very, very well. We're happy about that. And I want to assure you that the Borno State government, through the Ministry of Women Affairs, will continue with the treatment and make sure that she is well rehabilitated and rejoined with her colleagues. But before then, we'll make arrangements for her to go and visit her family who haven't seen her in the last couple of years.
Of the over 276 girls abducted in 2014, about 183 have been rescued so far, and 93 are yet to be accounted for. The Nigerian army is sure not to rest on its oars until peace is achieved in the Northeast region. Jesse Tafida, TVC News, Maiduguri.
Today, the Chibok girl might be looking nice facially and but inside of her, since 2014, I don't think all is well with her mental upstairs, because our 2 children still in the hand of the terrorist father, 2 and 5. She's going to be traumatized.
5 and 2.
3 children.
3 children. 5 and 2. She'll be definitely be traumatized.
I don't know how a mother will feel without 3 of her kids. The oldest being 7, the youngest being 2. It's not something that gives a mother joy. So wherever she is, she can't be happy. Another problem is the stigmatization of these people by our people. Once she stayed for that long with terrorists, they tend to be stigmatized by family members and neighbors. We've seen for that reason some of them even return to the forest to reunite with their terrorist husbands. So we have to take concrete steps to look after these people, to not make them not feel like going back. like others. Because when you stigmatize them, you treat them like half human beings, just because you are still looking at her like a terrorist because she was forcefully married to a terrorist. There is no way she would not feel very bad and even regret sneaking out of captivity, because a lot of them actually sneaked out of captivity. A lot of, not that we use military means to rescue them. You and I know it's not feasible to use military means. They are going to, the collateral damage will be massive. So most of them will sneak out, and once they see them straying around, the military will then ask them questions. Once they introduce themselves properly, they take them into safety. So this is what has been happening. All of those guests, just this, the Shekau promised that he will marry them off to his commanders, and that's what he has done. You know, one time when I talked about Shekau, I said, the Shekau that I know doesn't lie. There was nothing they didn't say about me. But whenever he says something, if Shekau takes responsibility for a bombing at anywhere, you know that indeed these people did it. That was the point that I was making. If he said, I did this, he did it. If he said, I didn't do this, he didn't do it. They felt I was praising him. Some of them were even calling me terrorists. People with diseased minds on social media. They were even calling me, they said I was supporting Shekau. People who can't risk their lives the way I've risked my life to expose some of the activities of these people. They are calling me Shekau's acolyte. You know, Nigeria on social media, we are very talented at abusing people. Look at ordinary cooking competition to get into Guinness Book of World Records. Nigerians are trolling the woman who used to hold the record. They've been abusing her to the point that the woman said, let's have peace. What is all this? That's the woman who held the record before Hilda. Nigerians on social media have been attacking her, saying that, all she could do were meat pies and sausages, you know. Just ridiculing her because the Nigerian contested against her. We are now known for just trolling people. The same way, the same thing that they were doing to me, because I said, Shekau, when he says something, he goes ahead to do it. And it was said, you know, like an, what do you call it? Like in a metaphoric sense, like a figure of speech, the Shekau that I know, meaning that the reputation that he had was to say something and people will find out that indeed he did it. Many people didn't know that Boko Haram attempted to bomb the Papa. Yes. Until Shekau himself came out to say, he said, I did it. But unfortunately for him, the woman did not have this requisite skill to yes. So that saved us. The whole of those town farms would have been on fire. You know, he came out to say he did it, whereas government was denying that time that
they managed the information.
Yes, I remember. He said no, it didn't happen. So this is the thing. He warned at that time that I will marry these girls to my fighters. Has it not happened now? How many of those Chibok girls that you have seen outside that you didn't see it at home babies? This is what has happened. He said it, and he went ahead and did it when we didn't rescue them on time.
But 9 years after. Well, the parents, even the parents, they would have lost hope. I don't think this is the daughter they left. And some of those girls, they've been married, they've lost their husband, they're married and married. They've married and married over and over again.
Well, I think, like BKO said, and which I also pointed out on the program a few weeks back, what these people who are coming from this terror zone will need first is to work on their psyche. It must be weaned over time of the trauma they have gone through. I can imagine how this girl will feel, especially remembering days when the military will attack or there is a confrontation, and you keep hearing all the AK-47, the bazookas and everything flying in different directions. And then not to talk of children still being with the terrorists. I think for her and others who have been coming out, what the Borno State government has been doing should take a firmer route, create special schools for them where you can work on them, because they need to get back to school. Let it not be that they are moving from their homes to school on daily basis. Take them away first. Let them be psychologically, emotionally, socially, spiritually, and physically fit before you send them back into the society. Let them be able to have answers to certain questions people will be asking them, because there will be questions, no doubt about that. But they should get to a point where instead of crying, answering those questions, they should be able to say to them what actually transpired and teach them the lessons that they learned from that experience.
Jimmy, let's touch on the suicide bomber, that guy that actually was on the watch list, and in spite of that, still succeeded in blowing himself up.
What we were told was that they were closing in on him, and he preferred to take his own life before they got to him. Terrorists do this a lot, especially hardened terrorists. Hardened terrorists are people with capacity and with information, so they would rather die than face the indignity of being questioned or being interrogated with a view to getting more facts from them before making them to face justice. Shekau was confronted by that kind of situation when Al-Banawi's boys surrounded him, and he felt, no, you are not going to
take me alive.
Yes, the privilege of taking me alive. He used his suicide belt to take his own life. And they didn't forgive Al-Banawi himself. The remnants of his own boys, who were supposed to be integrated into one Boko Haram unit, but who were already commanders and high-ranking officers in Boko Haram. They felt that at ISWAP, they will be marginalized, they will be deranked, they will be diminished. They then launched their own attack, came together, and they wounded Al-Banawi seriously, and he died from his injuries. That was how we lost the two remaining factional leaders. You know, there used to be 3 factional leaders. Al-Banawi and Mama Noor were the 2 leaders of ISWAP. Mama Noor was like a father to them. He was a politician in Borno State when suddenly he joined this group. He's like a father figure. In fact, he married Al-Banawi's mom, you know, and he was the leader of the group. It was felt that he will eventually push for making peace with Nigerian troops. So they detained him and eventually sentenced him to death in their camp, in the islands of Lake Chad, and eventually they wasted him. So we are down to one factional leader. After ISWAP gave Al-Banawi, who had also been detained after a palace coup within their group, ISWAP now took the decision to make Al-Banawi the Amir again. He became the Amir for the second time and then led that operation to dislodge Shekau. They were trying to form just one group. Yes, because the Shekau group had more members and had bigger territories. Yes, the whole of Sambisa belonged to them. All of the Mandara Mountains, leading right up to the border with Cameroon, Shekau's people were in charge. So they were eyeing all of those territories and all that. So they moved in. to see whether they can unite both groups so that they will be more formidable. Because it's easy to deal with the Eswa people because they occupy a small area. But you know, when they occupy a big area, it will be a big challenge for the military. How many places will you bomb? So in the end, Albanawitu lost his life when he suffered injury. And Shekau's boys are still in Sambisa and several other areas. Yes, including even Goza, the Goza. Those of them who fired RPG at troops, they are still Shekau's people in those areas. So the way it is now, those guys are still there. And if a terrorist can still be bombing himself in Kaduna, if bombing is still taking place in Taraba, that is to tell us that, look, these guys still have some cells, some sleeper cells that we have to do our best to identify and then deal with the people who are controlling them. That's something, because if we allow them to regroup again and start doing what they were doing pre-2015, when they will be bombing communities, then we'll be in trouble. It's a message to us that there are still terrorists mingling with our people.
All right, moving on now. Exodus of doctors abroad is a serious challenge to the health sector in Nigeria, but the right approach must be adopted to tackle it. The federal government has kicked against the bill before the National Assembly seeking to control the migration of doctors for greener pastures abroad. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, said the bill will go against extant labour laws. This came as medical doctors under the auspices of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors planned to commence a 5-week warning strike over the failure of government to meet their demands. Let's share the story of their strike with you.
The association representing the largest block of doctors in Nigeria, that is the Association of Resident Doctors, says that its members will be down in tools in just a few hours' time. It says that it's not happy with this decision, but it's been forced to take the action based on the irresponsiveness of the federal government. The members and the leaders of this association say that they care about everyday Nigerian and also about protecting the healthcare system.
We as doctors, we have friends that are patients, we have relatives that are patients. As a matter of fact, we also have colleagues that are patients. And it pains us when things like that come out. But the idea behind what we are doing is what everybody should fix his eyes on. And for us, the idea is the greater good and not for any personal interest.
This fight with the federal government has been years in the making. The demands of the doctors before their last strike in 2021 are yet to be addressed. NAD is also asking the federal government to replace the thousands of doctors that have left the country and make conditions favorable for those who have chosen to stay.
We had a meeting, we made a resolution, we sent to government. And the sensible thing to do is for government to now come and say, what is in this letter? What do you people want? And what is the situation? But I can tell you as we speak, nobody has even looked at the matter as a matter that affects everyone.
During previous industrial action by doctors, the everyday Nigerian suffers the most. Like the proverbial saying that when two elephants fight, the grasses suffer. In this case, it seemed like the federal government is the elephant, but certainly the everyday Nigerian is the grass that bears the brunt of the blows. Lanre Adeyemi, TVC News, Gombe.
New beginnings are always colorful. When we celebrate the start of life's journey, we marry in colors. With our proudly Nigerian Dulux paints, now available in any color. Express your world however you want it. Visit a Dulux Color Center to get any color instantly. Dulux, let's color.
Okay. So, at the end of the day now, another strike looming. But let's first of all look at Mr. Chris Ngige. Kicking against what the National Assembly proposed about seeking greener pasture abroad.
Yes, because we've also talked about it. Economic migration is not something that you can put an end to by way of a decree, by way of a law. It's a global thing. It's not Nigerian doctors alone that are leaving their countries for greener pasture. Doctors from all over the third world are moving out. Look at Egypt. A lot of Nigerians leave our country to receive Medicare in Egypt. But in spite of that, between 2019 and 2022, 11,600 Egyptian doctors left to practice abroad. And that is, this bill that they are talking about was copied from Egypt. Egypt has a law that says you must practice for 3 years in a public health institution before you move, before you can even work in a private,
after graduation.
Before you can even work in a private hospital in Egypt, you must first work in a public health
serve the government
for 3 years, because the cost of training a doctor is high, heavily subsidized by government. So they don't want to see a situation in which, after all the sacrifice, after all the training, the next minute you are gone. But I really don't see what we can do about it. I don't see how we can stop it. And I think that's the point that Ngige was making, that there is no way you can stop a doctor who has graduated from medical college from receiving his license to practice. You cannot stop it, and in any case, it's against the labor laws to try to stop anyone from seeking greener pasture, wherever it is, whether it is from within our country or I know some companies will try to say, you must work for us for so number of years. It's against the labor laws.
Yeah, if you take those companies,
yes, you will lose. There's there's nothing you can do. All you need to do is provide the best working environment that will discourage or minimize it. If people feel satisfied somewhere, they want to stay there and work. You cannot force people to stay. You can't force people to stay. Even Americans are going to work in China. Some of them have learned to speak Chinese language. Yes. They take lessons in Chinese language so that they can find jobs in China. And that's how it is. Pakistanis, there are more Pakistanis who are doctors in the UK than Nigerians. Than Nigerian doctors in the UK. There are more Indian doctors in the UK than Nigerian doctors. So you can imagine an Egyptian doctor who was on $300 per month working in a public health institution in Egypt. And then when he traveled to one of the rich Asian countries, I think UAE or something, his salary was 40 times higher than what he was earning at home. 40 times. So you then ask yourself, who would not want to go and look for greener pasture? Because you are trying to make things better for your family, for yourself.
It's as if it's in our profession that we have this migration in Nigeria. We are losing it.
It's in all. It's in all. No doubt about that. Even journalists are moving out of the country
every day.
And it's one of the issues, like we said on this program before, that the banks had, especially during the cashless, when the cashless policy first came into effect, where internet banking virtually crashed. And like I said here, even some banks are retaining staff who are outside the country to work for them from there, because they can't get the same kind of skill and trust that they need. So I think the this government is already out. So there is little that can be done now.
2 weeks more.
Just 2 weeks. So, 2 things. The incoming government must make the economy better. Because that is the only way that
Make home attractive.
you can make Nigeria attractive. The dollar is still well over 700 naira now. And whatever you are earning, we usually benchmark it against the dollar because that's about the currency we spend in Nigeria. So we must make that. We must tackle that issue. And then number 2 is, it is not at every point in time that workers must demand for salary increase. What workers should be doing now, the labor unions, is to insist on whatever they are taking home to have stronger value
For it. Conducive atmosphere.
because the moment you keep increasing salary,
Inflation.
inflation will be catching up with it, and
Users.
there will be very little we can do at the point we begin to get the economy right in terms of bringing down the cost of goods and services. If at every point in time, for instance, the Nigeria Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress, they were saying that if government should remove subsidy from our petroleum products, they are going to demand for 100,000 naira minimum wage. So if we demand for 100,000 naira minimum wage, and eventually the economy gets better, how do you catch up in terms of competing with other currencies? Because we are just making the naira valueless by the day. What we should be doing is to try to get more value for the naira instead of increasing the quantum that we take home. Because at the end of the day, we will now be praying that we don't end up like Zimbabwe, where workers earn in trillions because the currency is finished.
Or Venezuela.
So it's something we must take into consideration, because from what I could see, part of the demands of the doctors was that they demanded an increase somewhere, they demanded for this allowance, they demanded for that allowance. It has not been met. In making all of these demands, we must also be thinking of what the impact will be on the economy. Because if we don't do that, and we are thinking of only the short-term gains, then in the long run, the country will be worse off.
Did 5 weeks, a 5-week warning strike again over failure of government to meet their demand?
5 days.
Yes, it's always the...
I think the 5 weeks.
No, it's 5 days.
Okay.
It's always, well, they do 5 weeks, that's a whole month already. It's more than a full-blown
strike.
That's a typo. You know, this is what usually happens, especially if they actually called off the last strike. When you call off the last strike, then you have to inform your employer, notify your employer that another strike is coming. If you didn't call it off, if you merely suspended, it means that you don't owe your employer any notification. You can resume the strike anytime you want. That is the labor law. So, you know, when they fought for hazard allowance the other time, they were being paid hazard allowance that was instituted in the 80s. What value is that money compared to today's realities? It makes no sense. And these were people who sacrificed their lives during the COVID. We lost many doctors in Lagos, in Abuja, many places. So they felt, we are the frontline defenders of the lives of Nigerians during that period. Increase our hazard allowance. They warned, they threatened, they didn't do anything, despite the long warning notice until these people went on strike. Now I remember some of the issues that they raised then. Some of those issues are still there. Some of those issues are still there, unaddressed. What government usually does is, okay, they go and address 1 or 2. If there are 7 demands, they will look at 1 or 2.
And most of the time, the purpose then the call of that strike.
Yes.
ASU strike is still there, and they've not made their demands.
No, they will not make their demands.
That one is still there now. Once the new government
the judgment is coming now. I think they fixed the judgment for, is it 31st or something?
There's a way we just do the thing. It looks like a time bomb.
Or 30th.
Waiting to explode. The new administration will come, and they will have their hand filled up.
With all kinds
doctors,
of
people, because they don't know that. Look,
we have to manage our industrial relations with workers better. This government has had to battle strikes here and there.
So many.
When you also look at the minimum wage law, you know that this government has breached the minimum wage law.
Big time.
The law says after so number of years,
5 years,
you must increase minimum. You must review minimum wage, not necessarily increase. Review minimum wage. Jonathan did his own in 2011, and then this government came
in the last one. 2015 was the last time we.
No, it was supposed to be 2016.
Okay.
But we didn't do it. We dragged it. It went on and on for 2 more years. So what that means is that we are supposed to be talking about another minimum one. But nobody is even talking about
States are still struggling to pay the 30,000 naira.
Largely because of the way the negotiation for that one went, how long it lasted. Nobody is even contemplating. I think even Labour has given up that this government will not do anything about minimum wage again, because the way that one lasted, and in spite of that, some states did not even pay the last one.
It's as if, look, the lasting solution is not to just throw up this increase, because at the end of the day, this will lead to inflation. The atmosphere, as you said,
inflation will be there. Then
you see the people everywhere. There are ways of managing inflationary trends. It's just the management of our economy and our fiscal policies that has not been good enough. Everywhere, workers seek better welfare. They are not going to be thinking, if we ask for static. Yes, supposed to be static. Everywhere, look at France, even countries that people are doing well, they will still ask for more. So they are not going to be thinking, if we ask for it, it will market women will, as a result of that, increase their own. No, that's not their business. Honor your obligation to workers. Where you promise,
this speed is $12 per hour.
Yes, and states have different minimum wage depending on the standard of living in each state. Now, if you promise workers something, go ahead, fulfill your promise. People want to be respected. They honor their obligations. When you don't honor your obligation, they will come back to fight you again. So, and you cannot say people will ask for better welfare. If, for example, we are on TVC here, I've been working for 12 years, you don't increase my pay in any way, I'll be thinking of going elsewhere. That's the way it is.
Yes, but at the same time, if we also have a government that is responsive, like we have said, if, for instance, you are supposed to increase salary in another 5 years, and you know it, and there are things you put in place, for instance, that can crash the cost of transportation, it will also appeal to the workers. They will see something in it. But how much of that have we developed? That's where the challenge is. We are not doing things that can even, ensure that people spend less on daily basis. Food cost is going up
massively
every day. If
inflation has been going,
if today,
since last year, every month it's going.
If, like the government said, and it comes into reality, a bag of rice that is 30,000 naira today goes down to 10,000 naira. By the time you are looking at your money, you feel better.
That one cannot happen.
Exactly. That's how the challenge is.
There's still much ado about the battle for the principal officers' jobs in the 10th Assembly, National Assembly. Ahead of its inauguration, the governors from the North Central Zone have appealed for reconsideration of the rezoning of the presiding offices of the National Assembly. as released by the National Working Committee of the All Progressive Congress. Meanwhile, opposition parties said they may no longer contest for the Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the incoming House of Representatives because no one has presented himself or herself or for the office. Jide, let's start from the governors from the north central part of the country.
Yes. What we've seen in the last couple of weeks is complaints about the zoning structure released by the NWC of the APC. Clearly, the consultation was not enough, if there was any. And the testimony of the APC national chairman showed clearly when those House of Reps members went to meet him and his colleagues in the NWC, he owned up to the mistakes that were made, and he admitted that they did not do sufficient consultation. They did not even speak with the aspirants. Aspirants to those principal offices, even for the job of speaker alone, no less than 6-7 aspirants. At that time, someone told me that Dogwa has opted out of the race, but I've not spoken with him. You ought to, since you want to zone the thing, the people who are contesting, there are people that you have to first talk to. You must get their buy-in. Say, gentlemen, this is what we want. They are the people contesting. But if you didn't speak with them, you took your decision. Of course, if they feel slighted, they can work against the party. And everyone knows that the House of Reps especially, they have this rebellious streak. They have a way.
I should forget all this opposition, not party and everything.
Right from Patricia
interest.
Right from Patricia Ete's period, when Obasanjo imposed Patricia Ete on them, they didn't leave the woman alone. They harassed her out of office. And the trend continued like that. In 2015, Gbajabi Amila was the choice of the party. Gbaja didn't win the election. It was Dogara, who was chairman of the House Committee on Services, that eventually prevailed. So, when you want to do something like this, in a democracy, you need conversation with people. You need to speak with the people. Buy-in. You need to get their buy-in. They must buy into it. Otherwise, they will rock the boat. In this case, they've seen that something that had never happened before happened this time in terms of the zoning structure. The Northwest producing 2 out of the 4 presiding officers. You know, presiding officers are Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Senate President, Deputy Senate President. 4 of them are presiding officers. And 2 of those presiding officer positions went to a geopolitical zone. There's no way that people would not feel bad about it. This is why the North Central is saying, oh, we have never produced the House of Reps Speaker. Why wouldn't you consider us when we delivered 4 states in the presidential election?
That's the real reason.
Yes.
That's the out of 6.
No, even the Southwest. Also, the Southwest did 4 too. No, the Southwest did not even outdo them.
The North.
That's why Father Asiwaju Tinubu comes from the Southwest. The Southwest did not outdo the North Central in terms of the number of states won. Yes. Because here in the Southwest, Asiwaju lost Osun, he lost Lagos, it was his home state. Then in the governorship election, we now have 5 for the APC out of 6. PDP took Plateau. That's the only state.
North Central.
Yes. By the time this inauguration takes place, PDP would have just won 1 state. which is the North Central, which is Plateau. Again, that is a mark of loyalty to the party. You cannot, facts are the tools of our trade. You cannot revolt against facts, except if they are not facts. So that is what they are saying. The governors, it's impossible for the governors to sit down and go against what the aspirants from their zone are saying, because the central issue is that the North Central has been shortchanged. You can see the people who are there. Sani Bello, the outgoing governor of Niger, Lalong, outgoing governor of Plateau, Abdullah Sule from Nasarawa, the governor there, Yaya Bello from Kogi, the governor-elect of Benue, Hyacinth Alia, Wase, who is a contestant, the deputy senate president, Alia, then Senator Sani Musa from Niger, and Yusuf Adamu Gagdi from Plateau State, one of the young House of Reps member who is also seriously in contention. So they said yes. What they want, governors, especially the Kwara governor, for example, he was very polite. He said, we respect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We back his incoming administration, but we want to appeal that this matter should be reconsidered and that we would love to meet with him so that this zoning structure can be reconsidered. So that is, they are not using force, they are not using fighting language. You say no, we said wait or not, no, but what could the party? Yes, you say we are party men. We are ready to do further consultation and appeal to stakeholders that this time let the North Central get a good deal. This is the point. They are not asking for anything more than that the North Central should be rewarded, for the role that it plays. Because at the end of the day, when you look at that structure, the North Central has been completely shut out.
Doesn't completely. When you look at the way things are going and everything, do you see a replay of what we had in the 8th or 9th Assembly and the 10th Assembly?
I don't see that happening. And honestly, I think that was one of the reasons the opposition parties said they are no longer fighting. Because you can see that there is no support from the APC with them. Ordinarily, everybody who feels shortchanged should be working with the opposition now in order to get the required mileage. But so far, we have not seen anything.
Let me tell you what one of them said.
To suggest that.
He said that he wanted to avoid the banana peel because those opposition Senate reps members have been reaching out. Give us deputy, we will support you. Give us deputy. So those ones said, no, don't bring that. Don't bring that. Because at the end of the day, if you make, they may even say, oh, you have already negotiated with these people, and that may hurt your own chances with your party. So everybody is careful because they know they are being watched. So if those guys can't get the guarantee that, okay, what Bukola did at that time, they will do it. They will not give that support. They will just be on their own. That's what is happening, because you have to commit yourself to them. To give them something you can get. And for now, nobody is doing that. And they can't produce on their own.
And it is not likely to happen. So that is why the opposition has quickly come out to say, okay, we are leaving it. The second thing, which I'm sure we would have observed, was that since this zoning arrangement was brought into the public, and the man representing Bendi Federal Constituency from Abia State, that's Ben Kalu, was tipped for the position of Deputy Speaker. You will see that the agitation from the Southeast has
petered out.
You can't hear so much agitation now. And that's what the North Central is also saying. Because that's why the agitation is there. These governors met for several hours with their own people. So the moment you are able to take care of them within that system, you'll see that the party will be at peace.
I think the biggest complaints from there.
It's from there now. The Southeast has virtually stopped talking. Because everybody feels, okay, we've gotten something. At least it's something. It's not chief whip, it's not majority leader. It's deputy
deciding position.
speaker. So that's what the Northwest also, North Central also wants. And it's not too much to ask. You know, we've once said it here, that any agitation must be addressed with sufficient political will, in a way that those who are agitated will be able to say, okay, at least we have something. Not that you don't have anything, everything is now taken away, and then you are being told to just wait, relax, and then when the government comes into being, you now begin to get board appointments. What does that do to anybody? Even for the psyche of the politicians, it's not good enough. What do they go back home to tell their people for voting?
Yes.
For the party?
For loyalty.
For loyalty, to go and tell them, don't worry, they've promised us board appointments. I think in all of this, we must begin to look at what will make everybody happy. Because it is when people are happy that the government can run well. This government needs the support of everybody. And the North Central we are talking about, even other candidates, presidential candidates, in their campaign, they've still been referring to the North Central as where we need to go back to ensure that our food production gets on track. So we must not allow people to be disoriented. It's not good enough. These people must be compensated. And what they are demanding for, if you ask me, is not too much.
No, I don't.
Because the Northwest...
They are not making any extraordinary...
Nothing extraordinary. The Northwest has to... Why can't you withdraw one?
If you can reward a geopolitical zone that didn't even give you a single state.
A single state.
You can give them a principal, a presiding officer position. Why not a state that, a zone that gave you 4 states? Let's think about it. If we were in their shoes, our blood will boil. Our blood will boil. We will demand that what is going on? Do something.
Imagine the Southwest not being sure of anything at this point. It would have been serious.
When it appeared that Jonathan was marginalizing the Southwest, we were talking about it. Everyone, it was clear, people, and that he eventually paid for it, because when the time came for election, he was forgotten. He did not get the support that he needed. The Southwest aligned with the North to install Muhammadu Buhari. So reward must be a constant thing in politics, in a democracy, because that is what encourages people to stand by a party. They will recall that, oh, you didn't do anything for us, when in 4 years you are looking for renewal of your mandate. Yeah. So this thing has to be reconsidered, in my view. It's not because I'm from the North Central. I'm just a fair person.
I'm also with you on that.
Oh, it has to be reviewed. Listen to them. Listen to what they are saying.
All right. I thank you, Dr. Ladipo and Bikio, for your contribution. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight by 11 p.m. And don't forget to join us this Sunday for Journalist Hangout on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Usuba. Bye for now.
Nigerian Idol.
Season 8, Nigerian Idol, live and direct.
I don't know the words yet.
You have a good work ethic. Be passionate about what you do. Talent is never enough. Wow! You're incredible. What? Why, glory! Oh, glory!
This season, no greet anybody specially. Nobody face show. Nobody shoe shine. Put it right. We are back again. And I must greet you specially.
Brand new season starts on the 23rd of April, 2023. Proudly sponsored by Biggie Drinks, Nigeria's favorite, and Techno Mobile.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
Without the money for any charges.
It's Tidbit, the world's biggest container ship and the first to break the 24,000 TEU mark.
Allah Inland Drive Port is born again. Finally, the eagle has landed.
It is initiatives like this that we want to encourage.
Join us for a smooth sail on your favorite maritime program, The Shipper, brought to you by Nigerian Shippers Council, Nigeria's port economic regulator.
Wherever you see destruction, it's because God is absent. There is no destruction in God. So who started killing from Genesis? Satan. Jesus exposed him. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But I am come that you may have life and have it how much? More. I prophesy as the amen is coming like thunder. Whatever is yours, receive it now.
Precious Amayo as I bring you news from the epicenter, where it happens and when it happens, staying on top of every breaking story, minute by minute, right at the hour when the city gets busy and just before it sleeps. We're live from every angle with objective insight and analysis. TVC News, first with breaking news.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
It's now 13 days to the inauguration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the 16th president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and we're counting down. Our attention today is turned to security. How has it fared, and what can the incoming administration do to better the situation? Thanks for joining us on the program. Remember that you can also follow up online if you use the hashtag Inauguration Day. I am Nifemi Okunturu. Let's begin with some political updates. Some APC senators elect today met with the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress in Abuja as the party continues to perfect its zoning plan for the leadership of the 10th Senate. The APC national chairman is saying that they will meet with all aggrieved members of the party ahead of the inauguration day of the National Assembly. He was also quoted to have warned the senators not to be late on voting day. According to him, once bitten, twice shy.
Four, that we have found in the two persons of Tajudeen Abbas and Benjamin Kalu a leadership that will allow for fairness, equity, as well as provide equal platform for all political parties represented in Parliament to have a say in the running of the legislature and expression of alternative views on issues of public interest. 5, that in the next few days, we will be meeting in the larger caucus of the minority parties to discuss and formalize the adoption of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker designates of the 10th Assembly of the House of Representatives.
On behalf of the chairman of that committee and the entire members of the committee, that as at the end of the period given to undertake that assignment, no member of the minority caucuses, better known as the greater majority, steps forward for presiding the role of presiding officers.
Nigeria has been grappling with insecurity for a while now, and there's a long list of challenges. There's the emergence of Boko Haram terror group in the northeast from way back 2009, which have a different twist to, has added a different twist to the situation and how it's since evolved to other things. There are also other issues like kidnappings for ransom, school attacks, as well as the renewed agitation for secession by IPOB in the southeast, disrupting the peace in Africa's most populous country. Opinions are now divided.